As some of you might have noticed, I took last week off, spent some time with the family, had a little run bad from the week before, decided it was a good time to take a little break. Anyway, we're back here in Sacramento, California at Capital Casino. Going to jump into the 1-3 game and see if our luck has changed. About 5 minutes in, we pick up a pair of kings. That's a pretty good start from being away from the game for a while. Open to a raise for $15. End up getting a couple callers, and we're going to go 3 ways to this flop with $48 in the center. Flop comes out, yeah, you guessed it, ace high. First player checks. I got a little bit of a read on the player on the button. I don't think he has much, so I decided to do a small C bet to see if we can get it through. The player on the button decides to give it a call, and so does the player in the small blind. When the player in the small blind tanks for a while, it looks like he was considering doing something else, like raising. Anyway, the turn card comes as a 9 of spades. Things go from bad to worse. Now the obvious flush draw gets in there. A lot of 2-pair combinations are also there. And of course, that ace is still on board. After some thought, he decides to lead out for $50. I got a player behind me. 2 kings are probably not any good here, so let's just cut our losses, throw this thing in the muck, and we'll move on to the next hand. The other player did end up folding, and we'll never know for sure, but I'm pretty sure we're beat. Well, kings didn't work out for me. Let's try ace-king. There is a $6 straddle. One player limps in. I raise to $35. It's folded back around to the player, and he puts in the call. So it's just going to be the two of us to see this flop with $80 in the pot. Flop comes out king high, rainbow. Looks like a very good flop for ace king. He checks it on over. I'm going to go ahead and continue for a standard sizing of about $25. He does not think long before putting in the call. Now, I've played a lot of poker with this player, and I can kind of tell when he has a hand and when he doesn't. And right now, I'm reading him for a king. Turn card comes as a 3 of diamonds. I figured that he was going to call me with just about any king here. So when he checks to me, I'm just going to jam. He has about $200 remaining in his stack. I figured his most likely holding is the hand like king queen or king jack. If he had ace king, I figured he would raise pre-flop. Anyway, after some thought, he decides to go all in and says aces are good. I show my ace king, and he shows me his. So we're going to chop this one up. We lost with kings, and we chopped with ace king. Let's see if we can make this one stand up. Early position limps in. I raise to $20 with ace king offsuit. Small blind puts in the call, and so does the early limper. And we see a flop that comes 9-8-6. 2 spades. It gets checked to me. This is horrible for ace king, so I'm just going to check this one back, take a free card, which happens to be the ace of clubs, which is good for us. First player checks. Second player now leads for $30. Don't really like calling here. Don't like folding. Don't like raising. It just sucks. I put in the 30. The board is too coordinated to raise. Player behind puts in the call also. River card comes as a 10 of hearts. Put a one-liner to the straight. First player checks. Next player bets 55. There's nothing to do here but fold. There's too many ways we're beat. And let's just see if we can win the next one. I'm starting to think that I should have took an extra day off after I took this week off because nothing's been going right for me so far today. Hopefully we can change things with a pair of 10s. There is a $6 straddle. 2 players limp in for the $6. I raise to $30 with my 10s. Get a call from the player on the button and the player in the blind and 2 of the limpers. So we're going to end up going 5 ways to this flop with $157 in the center. Looking to flop a set or at least an overpair. Hopefully we can get something going our direction. Flop comes out 8-4 deuce with 2 spades. That's probably one of the best flops we could see. Kind of worried about someone having a hand like pocket 8s, maybe a flush draw. Other than that, I don't think anyone's going to be in there with 4s or pocket deuces. So it's checked me. I'm just going to bet out $100 against 4 opponents. I just want to get this down to heads up or no players. First player puts in a quick call. A little nerve-wracking. He's playing a deep stack, and he's been playing fairly well so far today, so I think he has some good value, but I decided I was going to go with it as long as it didn't come a ace on the turn or a spade. So the turn is the queen of diamonds, an overcard to my tens, not good, but I'm thinking that he's more likely to have an ace high flush draw than a queen high flush draw. So I'm just going to stick it all in here, hopefully get a fold, and we do. And this is our first real pot of the day. Well, we're back to even, and guess what? We got pocket kings on the button. There's a couple limpers. I raised to 25 from the button. Big blind decides to raise to 58. God, this sure feels like he has aces, just from the betting action. But he's been playing kind of sporadic, but my read's saying that he has aces. So I'm not going to go nuts here. I'm just going to put in the call. I got position. I'll get to see a flop and then make my decision afterwards. Flop comes out queen high rainbow. He decides to check really quick. I'm just going to check this one back. I'm just trying to get down to showdown as cheap as possible at this point. Turns a jack of hearts. Not good. If he had pocket jacks, he's there now. He might have pocket queens already. And of course, my initial read is that he has aces. So I'm going to put in a crying call, hopefully make a straight or catch a king, but it comes a four of spades on the end. And he leads out again rather quickly for $100. I'm beat here. I just know I'm beat. I'm thinking, okay, well, if he slow played queens on the flop, that's something that he would probably do. Slow played aces. But I go, man, I see him make some strange moves today. I mean, so ace queen's not out of the question. King queen's not out of the question. Heck, even an ace jack is in there. I'm getting a decent price to make a call, but I don't like it a bit. I'm tanking for a very long time, trying to get a read off of him. I make a little joke with him, and he seems very relaxed. This hand should just go straight in the muck. But after some time, I decided, well, screw it. It's only $100. I want to see what he has, which is also a sign of a bad player. If you want to see what someone has, you already know what they have. Why put any more extra money in there? I put the $100 in. He rolls over pocket aces. God dang it, what a waste. I'm such a donkey. All right, I'm stuck again. I got to shake it off. Get back into playing good cards. Here I got ace queen offsuit on the button. Bunch of people limp in. I raised to 30, thinking I'll just take this pot down, but I have one player who decides that he wants to look me up. And he is kind of I would say maybe a newer player, and he has some strange habits, let's just say. So just the two of us are going to go heads up to this flop. There's $70 in the pot. I got a premium hand, and I'm not quite sure what this guy has. Flop comes out 10, 7, deuce, 2 clubs. Not a great flop for ace queen, of course, and he decides to lead into me for a very small sizing. Kind of makes me feel like he wants to get a cheap draw and not get raised. So what does it mean? Maybe he has a straight draw, 8-9, or a flush draw. I decided to just put in the call and see what the turn brings, which is the jack of diamonds. The straight draw did get there. I expect if he made the straight that he would fire a little bit bigger sizing, maybe like $50 or $60, but instead he bets out for $20. I'm really reading him for a flush draw. Unless he has a jack-eye flush draw, I think I'm good here. River card comes, pairs the bottom with a deuce of diamonds. Excellent card. He misses all his draws. And I figured he could either set down here or fire one more bullet. And this young man decides that he's going to go ahead and fire that one more bullet for $50. Now, naturally, if I put him on a draw, I think I have to call down here. He puts in the $50. I'm thinking, all right, Let's see if I can get a little bit of a read. He seems uneasy, which is a good sign. So I go ahead and make the call for the $50 bet. And hopefully my ace high is going to be good here. I slide it on in. He rolls over ace six of clubs for a missed flush draw. And we win one with ace high. Well, we got back to even and we played for another half hour. Didn't really do anything else. So I decided to hang it up and come back the next day, and I get seated in a really, really juicy game. There's a player playing just about every hand, and I do mean every hand. After about 20 minutes of play, there is a $6 straddle. 2 players limp in. I look at ace king, raise to $30. It gets folded to the player at the end of the table who puts in the call. So does the player in the small blind. He's not afraid of anything. He's been playing a lot of hands and not running very well. First, big blind puts in the fold, and then the 2 straddlers decide to come along. So there's going to be a $153 in this pot, and we're going 5 ways to the flop. Flop comes out king, queen, 8 with 2 clubs. Well, it's good that we flopped a king. It's bad that there's such a wet board with flush draws and straight draws available. It gets checked to the player who's been playing just about every hand. He bets $30. This is too small of a bet. I need to go ahead and try to isolate him. If he has 2 pairs, so be it. I make it 130, trying to get the other players to fold out any speculative draws, gut shots. You get the picture. They fold all around, and then he makes a very quick call for the extra $100. Makes me think he's on some sort of draw. Turn card comes as a 6 of diamonds, puts up a secondary flush draw out there. He leads into me for 150. I think he's full of BS. I go ahead and jam for my $335. So it's another $185 for him to call. And there's like $900 in the pot. If he has anything, I figured he would put the money in. But it looks like he doesn't have anything, because after some thought, he decides to lay it down, and we win our first pot of the day. Well, there's still a ton of action, and here we're doing a $15 bomb pot, so there's 135 in the center. We are on the button, and we have 10-9 of clubs. Pretty decent hand to play if you're playing in a bomb pot. Flop comes out beautiful, 10-7-3 with the 7-3 of clubs. So top pair, mediocre kicker, but we got the backdoor straight draw and, of course, the flush draw. The action player bets $50 into me. Next player folds, and here I am afraid of overcards, and $50 might be too enticing for the other players, so I decided to raise to $150. Trying to isolate this player. I got quality ham with a big draw. I'm not sure whether my 10 is good at this point, but I really like my draw to go with it. So anyway, it gets folded all the way back to the original better, and he puts in the extra $100. So not sure if I need help or not, but I got position on him, so we'll see what comes on the turn. Turn card comes is pretty good. It's a 6 of hearts. We do pick up a straight draw. He quickly checks. And here I'm debating about whether I should fire again or take the free card. I figure if he has a 10, most likely he has me beat at this point, because I'm only beating 10-8 and 10-5. Not sure whether he would call such a big bet on the flop when I raised him to 150. River card comes as an 8. We make our straight. He checks it over to us. And I'm going to go for value, so I bet $300. And it doesn't take long for him to raise to $600. Could he have Jack 9? It's possible, but most likely he just has a bare 9 in this spot. So I go ahead and put in the call. He shows me 9-3. So we were like a 92% favorite on the flop and on the turn, and we chop it. And this one was a pretty weird hand. Of course, there is a $10 straddle on this one. The action player puts in the call. I raise to 35 with ace queen suited. Only get called by the original straddler and the action player. Both of these players have been playing a ton of hands. Player at the end of the table has been running really salty and is kind of frustrated. Flop comes Jack 10-6 with 1 spade and 2 diamonds. First player checks. Next player bets small for $25. I got 2 overs and a straight draw and a backdoor flush draw. I'm not going anywhere. I put in the call, and so does the player at the end of the table. Turn card comes is a blank for a hearts. First player checks. Next player puts in another smallish bet for $50. After playing with him for about 2.5 hours, I got a pretty good read that he has a very, very weak hand. So my idea here is just to put in a raise, get the player at the end of the table to fold out, and then bluff him off whatever he has on the end because he has a pretty deep stack. Unfortunately, my plan goes awry when the player at the end of the table goes all in for less. Not good because actually he probably has something. He probably has like a 10 or something, but I still have 2 overs and a gut shot to fall back on. Hopefully we can get lucky. And that's basically exactly what happens when the dealer turns up a ace of diamonds. He doesn't have the flush draw. I turn over my ace and he says, "You're good." So we won this one the strangest way you can. I ended up playing for like another hour and a half and just was really, really card dead. All my poker buddies around me were scooping in big pots after big pots, and I could not win anything. But I do end up booking a win for the day of $380, which is not bad. That was one of the better games I've played in a long time. There were 2 or 3 players that were constantly involved, and I just wish I ran a little bit hotter so I can take advantage of it. But a win is a win, so I'll take it. And as you can see, we have our monthly and yearly totals up here. And I do want to thank you for all your support. I appreciate that you made it to the end of the vlog. And if you guys can do me a little favor, if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I want to get to 10,000 subscribers, and I only need like 200 and change to do it. I think we can get it done on this vlog if everyone that isn't subscribed would just hit that little button. It'll sure help out the vlog. And until next time, collect the tables, and we'll see you back here soon.